Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to review how to draw our unit circle. So let's go ahead and get our notes out and we'll get going. Remember, at any point in the video that you fall behind in your notes, pause the video and get your notes back up so we have a complete set of notes. Also, if you didn't quite understand something the first time, pause the video, rewind it some, and listen to it again. Sometimes it takes a couple times through to get the concept. Alright, let's talk about the unit circle. Our unit circle, which is this piece here, is what we're going to learn to draw today. We're going to learn about or review how to draw or get to the coordinates to the points on the circle at the given degree. Okay, the only part we're not going to do is our radian measure, and that's our pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. So basically our measures that have the pi in it. We're not going to worry about those today, just our degree and the associated coordinate on the circle. Alright, so drawing our unit circle. It all begins with these two triangles. These are our 30, 60, 90 and our 45, 45, 90. And remember, these are the special triangles from geometry that were obtained by dividing through by the length of the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse here used to be 2, but we divided all the sides by 2. We ended up with a hypotenuse of 1, leg length of square root of 3 over 2, and a leg length of 1 over half. And remember, the 1/2 is the side opposite to 30. The square root of 3 over 2 is the side opposite to 60. We're going to need to remember that as we draw our unit circle. We have the 45, 45, 90, and lucky for us, these sides are the same. So our hypotenuse, which was square root of 2, we went around and divided by the square root of 2 and rationalized to get side lengths of square root of 2 over 2, and they both happen to be the same. So the side opposite each 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. So knowing these triangles are going to be key. Let's go ahead and put them into use. So our unit circle is just a circle on the coordinate plane that has a radius of 1. And from here, we're going to use our triangles to get to the rest of the point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a point here, right on the x-axis. And this is called our 0 degree point. I'm going to write them out here. This is 0 degrees. And the coordinates of that point, because the radius is 1, means our x-coordinate, which we also call our cosine, is 1. And our y-coordinate is 0, and that's our sine. So that's our first point. From here, we're going to turn an angle 30 degrees. So if I move up approximately 30 degrees. So there's our new radius. It's coming out here. Hits the circle somewhere in there. Okay, so this is our 30-degree angle, and I'm going to get the coordinates to this point, our cosine and sine, by simply dropping a perpendicular down to the x-axis, where it forms our 30, 60, 90 triangle. And we know that the side opposite to 30 is 1/2. The side opposite to 60 is the square root of 3 over 2. And these two coordinates are the distances from the origin, which means there are x and y coordinates. So the distance on the x-axis is the square root of 3 over 2. So that's our x or cosine coordinate. And our distance from the x-axis up, that's our y coordinate, which is 1/2, or our sine coordinate. So our first point is the square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. We're going to use a similar method to get the rest of the angles on here, simply drawing triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and we're going to get to our next point. Okay, so that was our 30-degree angle, so we'll come over here and we'll label it 30 degrees. Our next one's going to be our 45-degree angle. 45 is about in the middle here. So if I turn my angle up to 45 degrees, drop a perpendicular down where it forms a right or perpendicular angle, right angle, I can see I have a 45, 45, 90, and the sides opposite the 45s are the square root of 2's over 2's. And now we have our, let's rewrite this one, we have our x-coordinate, or cosine, which is square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, for our y as well. So here's our x, here's our y, our two coordinates. Okay, again, we're going to use the same technique, and we're going to draw our 60-degree angle. So we have our 30, we have our 45, and we didn't label it, so let's go back and label it. And our next one's going to be the 60. So our 60 is going to end up right about in here. Again, if we draw a perpendicular down, we have the first right triangle we use for the 30, but it's flipped over. So this angle is now 60. That means our 30 is way up here. I'll kind of scribble it in there. Side opposite 30 is 1/2. Side opposite 60 is the square root of 3 over 2. Remember, this is our x-coordinate, or our cosine. So we have 1/2. And there's our square root of 3 over 2. That would be our y. And there's our 60-degree angle. Okay. Our next angle, and we'll have quadrant 1 finished. So we have the 30, the 45, the 60. The next angle is going to be our 90 degrees. And our 90 degrees is simply the y-axis. So let's kind of squeeze that in here. I'll put a tiny 90 right here. And the coordinates are, remember, unit circle, radius 1. That is 0 over and 1 up. And there we have quadrant 1. Now once you have quadrant 1, you know how to do quadrants 2, 3, and 4, because each quadrant has a 30-degree angle, a 45, and a 60. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding those in. I like to just put in the dots or the points and get ready to write them in. So here, I can draw the same triangle. If I turn an angle off this side of the x-axis, I have a 30 degrees. And it's going to be mirroring the same one we had here. So I know that this triangle, the opposite side, is going to be 1/2. The adjacent side is the square root of 3 over 2. So just as this point was the square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2, so is this point on the opposite side. Let me create a little more room here. We have the square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. I also know, because this is a coordinate plane, that my x-coordinates in quadrant 2 are negative. So we've got to be wary of our signs. Negative cosine, positive sine. Negative x, positive y. And again, this is our 30-degree angle in quadrant 2. And remember, halfway around the circle is 180 degrees. So this is 30 before that, so this is 180 minus 30, or 150 degrees. Okay, also keep in mind that we have a 30 down in quadrant 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put my points in. So I do quadrant 3, and I can draw a similar triangle and call it 30. But at this point, we're going to see that, hey, my cosine and sine, or my x and y, are going to be the same. So I don't really need my triangle at this point. I can simply say that I know this is the square root of 3 over 2, and I know this is 1/2. I also know in quadrant 3, which is here, this being quadrant 2, this being quadrant 1, and quadrant 4, that both my x and y coordinates would be negative down here. So negative cosine, negative sine. To get my degree, again, it's 30 degree past 180. So 180 and 30 is, this is a 210 degree angle. Okay, applying the same concept for the quadrant 4. So I have the 30 degree. And again, I'm putting my other points, my 45 and my 60. I don't really need to draw the triangle at this point, because I know what these guys are. They're the same all the way around. Square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. I also know in quadrant 4 that my x's are positive, but this time my y's are negative. I know that all the way around the circle is 360 degrees. And due to room, I can't fit them in here, so I'm going to go ahead and write them over here. 0 and 360 are the same. So 30 before 360 would be 330 degrees. Okay, we're going to use the same concepts to get our 45s and our 60s and the rest of our 90s. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little erasing in here, and we'll quickly finish this off. So without erasing the points, just the triangles in between, we will have our unit circle done in just a second. So here we go. All right, our 45-degree angles are the middle points, and we know all 45-degree angles will have the square root of 2 over 2, each one. So I'm just going to walk around, or go around and write the square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. We know in quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive. 45 before 180 is going to be approximately, let's see, 45, or 180 minus 45 is about 135, so this is 135 degrees. So we got to use a little arithmetic to figure out our degree measure. Going down to quadrant 4, again, we know the points. This time, both coordinates are negative, so negative square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2. 45 past 180 is about 225, so this is 225 degrees. So again, I'm adding 45 to 180. Go to our quadrant 4. Again, we know our points. It's square root of 2 over 2, because again, they haven't changed since the first triangle we've drawn. And here we know our y coordinate, or assigned coordinate, is negative. And 45 before 360 is 315 degrees. Okay, we're almost there. We've done the 30s. We've done the 45s. Let's do the 60s. All 60-degree angles will be 1/2 for the cosine, and square root of 3 over 2 for the sine value. So let's go ahead and put those in. So we have negative 1/2 in quadrant 2, and positive square root of 3 over 2. Ooh, technical difficulty there, that's okay. Lots of technical difficulties. Let's see if we can clean that up. There it is. Okay, we're back. Okay, so going back to, let's go ahead and erase this one more time. Square root of all 60-degree angles will be 1/2. And the square root of 3 over 2. Remember, in this quadrant, b is negative, or x is negative. So this is our 60 degrees. So our 180, take away 60, this is 120 degrees. So a little arithmetic to figure this out. Our next 60-degree angle is down in quadrant 3, so it'll be 60 past 180, that would be 240. So let's go ahead and put a 240 in here. Almost done. And again, it's going to be negative, because everybody's negative down here. 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2. And our last one would be over here in quadrant 4. I'm going to just give myself a little bit of room, because I actually have another angle to put in there. Let's redraw him. Okay, so our 60 are 1/2, and this time our y is negative, square root of 3 over 2. 60 before 360 is 300. And now in each quadrant we have our 30, 45, and 60. We labeled them with the right degrees. And lastly, we have to go back and make sure we got all what we call our 90s. I have the 0, which is also the 360. I have the first 90 up here. If I go 90 more, this is the 180. So we got to get our point on 180. That's where our x is -1 and our y is 0. And our last point down here, he's going to be kind of jumbled in here, or squished in there. And that's going to be 90 past 180. That's our 270. So 270 degrees. And that point is simply going to be x is 0. Grandma move here, y is -1. Okay, that's how we put together our unit circle, and the key is the triangles. And remember, once you have the first quadrant, you can notice that all the other quadrants have the same 2 coordinates. It's just a matter about signs. Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, go ahead and write them down and we'll handle them in class. Thanks so much.